Welcome to this week's Acca podcast, sponsored by Sky Bet Acca Freeze. Tom, Joe and Jimmy with you to run through the schedule. Coming up on this episode then, it is of course time for the EFL playoffs to begin. We're going through the leagues, picking out our best bets and our fancies in the race for promotion, and we also settle on the three winners with the Acca and that treble at around 40-1. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel to ensure that you never miss an episode. And remember to keep it fun. Never bet more you can afford. This podcast is 18+. Please gamble responsibly. Before we get chatting about the playoffs, all things playoff, Championship, League 1, League 2, if you watch it on YouTube, you know that someone else has joined us. And with a big, gleaming, happy face, because we want to reflect on what happened on final weekend, and we couldn't do it without bringing Dom in and his Bradford love. For those who weren't aware, take us back to Saturday afternoon and tell us what the hell happened.
Well, all Bradford needed to do was win to be automatically promoted.
From League 2.
From League 2. And during the 90 minutes, Walsall, who were in 4th, won. So they were 3rd.
I mean, let's just take a minute to congratulate Walsall on winning a game. So that's a very rare sight in the second half of the season.
It's a little too late, boys, though. How you doing, babe?
And then...
So Walsall, probably their fans thought they were up.
Who is this, by the way?
This is Dom, isn't it? I've said producer Dom and his Bradford love in.
Oh, shall I do the catchphrase?
Fine.
Lads!
Yeah, do your catchphrase from the TikTok.
No, it's
There you
introducing
go.
himself.
I did actually, do you know, that just to show the reach that this podcast has, I did get collared on during the celebrations, and someone came up to me and they went, "Lads, you're that guy from Sporting Bet." Sporting Life, mate. But yeah. So anyway, yeah, Walsall.
Yeah, we still don't know what's happened here.
Walsall, for a second, were up. And then Bradford scored in the 96th minute, leaving it till the last minute of the last game of the season. And the scenes that erupted were the best I've ever seen in football in real life. It was like Aguero levels, but I was actually there to see it. It was superb. It was so good to see. The reason that we love football for these romantic stories. And I got to share it with my son as well. I get emotional.
I love it.
But yeah, honestly, this is what football's all about. It's why the EFL is the best league. The League 2, as we all know, and listeners of this podcast will know, has been an incredibly unpredictable league. It's why it's kind of been banned from being included in the Acca. And for it to end the way it did, it got the ending it deserved, I think. And not only that, Bradford got the ending they deserved, really, because the crowds have been brilliant all season, and to have been promoted away at some, lowly team would have been awful. But to get promoted at home in front of a sellout crowd on the 40th anniversary of the Bradford City Fire, and to do it in the fashion that we did, which was the worst goal I've ever seen in football. And then, you might have seen the videos, but the fans running on the pitch and stuff, the scenes afterwards were just phenomenal.
Did you run on the pitch? Let me just... West Yorkshire Police report crime on.
I did go on the pitch. I wasn't one of them.
Criminal.
I went on after the final whistle. And basically, I waited for the point where the stewards had given up trying to stop people, and I just strolled on. And I did a knee slide.
Your voice is usually far stronger, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Usually,
it is, because a party ensued afterwards. And this is not football talk, but the players came out for beers on North Parade in Bradford, and there was a big party after. And I drank too much, shouted too much, and sang too much. Was singing Elvis with some of the players. That was pretty good. It's one of the great moments of my life. Saw some of the videos back of it. Honestly, I could have, died. Awful.
So you've got
Cringe.
you're talking about like how brilliant it was, best moment ever.
Yeah.
How horrific was it for the first 96 minutes?
Yeah, awful. I had my head in my hands. I thought we'd blown it. Bradford would not have done well in the playoffs. Bradford's form going into that last game of the season had been pretty grim. Not as bad as Warsall's, obviously, but it wasn't great. We'd I'd come into the office every day for the Acca recording and be like, "Oh, Bradford not fancy it, do they? Did Bradford giving it to somebody else, are they?" And that's literally what they were doing. They're just giving it away. And then for it to end in the way it did, it just felt like they were doing it on purpose. Like, let's get promoted on the last day of the season. But then, you're right, the game itself was atrocious. It was a terrible advert for League 2. Terrible, terrible football.
That's why we love it.
The fans were all fuming. Some people left on the 90th minute.
Oh, no.
Oh, God, no. Why would you do that?
Can you imagine? Some people left. But It was worth sticking around, obviously. You know,
Bradford is notoriously bad for traffic.
it is,
be fair.
but, mate, it would have been it's worth it. I was sat in traffic 24 hours to experience that. It was class. You just don't get to experience that enough in football. It's one of the greatest things, and it's why supporting a team like Bradford or Barnsley is so special, because 90% of the time it is god awful shit, and then when the good stuff comes around, you just love it all the more. I mean, you saw those scenes. They were scenes of Bradford City fans relieved, basically. They're like, thank fuck, we're out of this shitty league. Not there's anything wrong with League Two, but it is. The standard is not great. So we're no longer in the lowest division of professional football. We are now in the second lowest, and it is a dream.
Right.
And we'll be playing Barnsley.
I know. Going to be exciting.
Loads of local
We'll have to get you
derbies.
back on for because basically League One is all northern teams, isn't it? I think.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, let's hope
is class.
hope Chesterfield get out of the playoffs and make it even better. Like, that was unbelievable on last day, Tom. I know Leeds had already been promoted, but pretty awesome drama for Leeds to win the league. As
Yeah,
well.
Leeds needed to basically match Burnley's result, and they went 1-0 down. Typical, obviously, as they would. Pulled it back, basically knocking on the door constantly, and in the 92nd minute, I think it was, Manuel Solomon popped up, cut inside, and knocked it about through 3 players past the goalkeeper in full. There was a moment where I thought he was going to get a bit like Mike Bassett, England manager, where he takes his shorts off and everything, because he takes his top off, takes the vest off, and he starts grabbing his shorts. I thought, this is a bit extreme. So they'd done that, and then everyone kind of forgets that then Plymouth had a golden opportunity to equalise and nodded it wide. So that was the relief on that point.
What a weekend for West Yorkshire sport. Yeah. And on that note, as the podcast producer, no more Leeds talk. I'm going to go get on with the Acca, please.
There we go.
Thanks for humouring me.
Okay, should we have a little break point in this so we can actually get Jimmy back in his spot? Because he's just been, if you're not watching on YouTube, Jimmy's just been lurking in the middle.
Yeah, I was going to sit behind the camera for this bit. I don't know why I needed to squeeze on, but...
You know, much like, yeah, he has been the, me and Dom have had the nice little promotion chat, and he's been Natasha Bedingfield at Burnley, just hanging around and singing.
Jimmy didn't want to say much because he was on a free bar at Bramall Lane on Saturday, and God knows what happened.
Right.
A game that didn't matter.
We'll do a break. We'll get Jimmy back, so I want to find out more about that. Let's carry on then, because I was going to move on, but what's this free bar talk? What's happened here?
It's simple. Basically, you don't have to pay for any drinks.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. Where were you, Blades? Bramall Lane?
Yeah. In lieu of a pay rise, the gracious people at Sporting Life said, got you hospitality tickets for a Sheffield United game of your choice. So obviously, at the time, it was pre-back-to-back-to-back defeat. So I thought, brilliant, we'll go Blackburn. It'll probably go down to Wire.
Yeah.
Probably win. Promotion party. Obviously, United's automatic playoff chances went way before then. But it's still good. Still good.
Did you enjoy it?
He was actually given the option of some fishing equipment for summer, or to have the opportunity to...
What's in this mystery box? The box!
I actually watched that Family Guy episode yesterday. It was on TV. So, of course, he took the mystery box. I'm glad you had a nice time, James.
No, it was good. But I took my girlfriend, and I was explaining to her we were on 2 of the 3 teams who couldn't go down, so we're either going to win a lot of money or a lot of money. I can't see a situation where Luton don't at least draw, so don't worry, because going into that game, we had about 150 quid between us. So I was like, don't worry, we'll be able to collect loads of money after the game. Because at the time, we didn't know it was a free bar. So I was caning the pints before. Don't worry. Check the score, 50 minutes.
It's not me, this. Don't worry about it.
Luton 5-1 down. I was like, about that money we was going to win. She's like, I'm not sure how many more drinks we can get.
Yeah, I'd close that little TUI app that you've got open there if I were you.
I think they just invoice, don't they?
Yeah, I give
when the bill comes through.
Yeah, well, I give them Dave John's name, so
Brilliant. It's a random member of the office. They were one of the 3 teams in the Acca, of the 2 Accas that we did. The early one, confident on, a win for Burnley, who won 3-1. Sheffield United, the game you were at there, ended in a draw, didn't it, as they go into the playoffs. And Portsmouth, Hull survived with draw. there. And then the later 3 p.m. one, 4 of 5, it was Barnsley. Your Barnsley completely ruined it for everyone in the 28-1 because Stockport beat Wickham, Charlton beat Burton, Leyton Orient cruised to victory over Huddersfield. Birmingham left it slightly late but got a win over Cambridge, and it was Reading who, I know there was the playoff potential, but there was a slight feeling of the football they kind of didn't really care what had happened because of obviously the takeover news that broke before the game. Whether they kind of tried to tactically time that a little bit to give everyone a further boost ahead of the game, I'm not too sure. But why didn't Barnsley just play the game and lose graciously?
I think it weirdly popped the balloon, them hearing that Leyton Orient were just coasting to victory at Huddersfield, because I really should know this about my own team, especially as I was working on Saturday following the scores religiously, but I couldn't have cared less how Barnsley were getting on in that match. But it's 0-0 at half-time, I'm pretty sure. I did have all the notifications coming in. So the Reading were very much, in the game, and then they've obviously seen the results the scores at half-time, and they're like, it's all over for us.
I mean, yeah, before the hour mark as well, to go then 2-0 down. 6
goals in the second half. That is a very, very final day of the season type stuff, that anyway, like, all over this, against one of the worst teams in League One in the second half of the season. To concede 4 at home to them is pretty horrendous. But, well, went close. What more
We've
can we do?
finished the regular season then. The tipping record, which we always say the tracker is on the Sport and Life website that you can look at. We've put up 43 Accas, is it? 8 winners as well, so 46.5 points profit, which is half a point better than last season.
Come on.
So the graph is slightly going up ahead of, obviously, the playoffs that we will discuss very shortly. But we've kind of salvaged it a bit, is it fair to say, at the last part of the season? It felt like there was a very long run where we didn't win anything as we reflect on our own season.
Well, August through to December, 6 points profit.
What more? What were you worried about?
Jake says 2025, 42.5.
There you go. We've just saved it. We've had a January window recruitment, and
So if we were
we looked at things and bounced back.
if we were a team that didn't get promoted, people would be backing us in the outright for next season, wouldn't they?
It would have been good if we finished 45.5 just down, because then we could have been like Donny last year, where they just charged.
Absolutely.
What I'd be
Just fell short.
interested to know is, in the second half of last season, were we on a losing run, like a team who's been struggling like Cardiff last year? So people shouldn't have been backing us in the first half of this season until we'd got our house in order.
We had last season the final winner came on March the 9th,
So a bit.
which was 18, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 losing Accas to see out the season.
We did.
Better this time.
Yeah, we were a bit like a football team. Anyway, moving on from that, because we're gonna just win all the time now, right?
Yes.
That's the confidence high. Let's move playoffs then. Do you want to talk about playoffs unless we want to touch on anything else? We'll go league by league. Where do we want to start first? Do we want to go Championship to League 1 to League 2, or League 2 to League 1 to Championship and have the main event crescendo?
I feel like it makes sense to have Jimmy go first when he was at that Sheffield United Blackburn game, where it was that was good drama for a while in the Championship on Saturday. That there was Millwall were in
the playoffs for a couple of minutes. That was
and
exciting.
Blackburn were for a bit. So yeah, it feels like it makes sense how Sheffield United were looking to the naked eye.
So Sheffield United are favourites to win the playoffs, as you'd expect.
The blurry eye.
Sky Bet have Sheffield United at 7-4, Sunderland 11-4, Coventry 3s, Bristol City 4. So we'll talk about them all there. But yeah, Sheffield United.
Yeah, did you actually watch any of the game?
Yeah,
It's better to just be honest if you didn't.
Yeah, well, the majority of the game we didn't at the time realise it was a free bar. So we were out there. But Rudy Gestead with 2 seats in front.
director of football, isn't it? Blackburn, yeah.
Yeah.
How the hell's that happened?
The Beast from the Chase. He
Yeah.
was there. He was there, yeah. Big Sheffield United fan.
I
Literally.
feel like I know that actually. Nice. I feel like I do know. I feel like I've heard that before. Any other celebrity encounters?
Chris Wilder popped in after the game.
Oh, say hello.
I was at the toilet.
He's at the bar. Free bar, Chris. You're anything. It's on me, pal.
Get a few sandwiches.
Yeah, it's on me, pal. Sheffield United, though, 7-4 favourites to win the playoffs. What are we thinking? Talk to me about it.
Yeah, as a Sheffield United fan, apprehensive, obviously. I think this will be our 11th playoff campaign. 0 successes. I think we've had 4 final defeats. I've been there at Wembley twice for them. A lot of them before my time, but there was Burnley. That was a heartbreak. And Huddersfield on pens. Steve Simerson, I think that pen's still rising, if you remember it. The worst part about both of them Wembley trips was, because I think I was like between 10 and 14 for both of them. Something around that. It was a family trip, so... my mum and one of my sisters came, and it was classic after the game. Like, oh, it's only a game. There's always next
Don't
year.
worry about it. We'll bounce back.
Yeah, but Championship. We were just talking before we started recording because we've been in here about 3 hours, haven't we?
Waiting for
to get set up.
Dom, rather than actually do, the producing of the podcast, was so excited about coming on. We just didn't know what was going on for hours.
Yeah, so we was actually saying there's nobody in the Championship really coming into this playoffs hot.
Playoffs.
There's nobody in the Championship
In
playoffs
form.
In form. Well
Yeah.
done, Tom.
Coming in hot. Like Coventry peaked too early. They sort of limped into the finishes, I guess, even though they beat Borough quite convincingly on the last game. Sunderland, it was a bold move to rotate and then put yourself in blue cold form, but I don't know. I don't really know what to make of them.
Yeah, so
It's so silly.
on the form point, going into the Championship playoffs then, from the 10 games leading up into the playoffs, Bristol City are 8th in the form charts with 15 points gained. Sheffield United 10th, 14 points gained. Coventry, which, as you said there, maybe it's gone under the radar a little bit, their own form. People, I think, just assume they'd absolutely flown in and kind of stayed there. 14th in the form charts, 13 points gained, of course, all from a possible 30. And then Sunderland, 8 points gained from a possible 30. A lot of rotation, keeping kind of players fit and available, knowing that they were going to be in the playoffs for so long, could have potentially backfired for them a little bit. So like you say there, nobody's coming in particularly impressive form at the moment.
Losing your last 5 matches, I mean, he's a funny one, isn't it? The Championship playoffs, it just makes me a little bit edgy. That if I really had to say who do I think is going to win them, it would just logically you've got to think Sheffield United, because the points difference between the Blades and Bristol City is massive. I mean, it's the biggest ever.
So
22.
with Sheffield United have the joint highest tally of any playoff competitor with 90. Bristol City have got the joint lowest tally with Leicester of 2012-13, the famous.
So it's definitely the biggest
got
gap
to be a
ever, isn't
biggest
it?
gap.
So based on that alone, you've got to think, well, they're overwhelming favourites, 4-7 to make the final, and they were a Premier League team last year. I actually think, because so much water's gone under the bridge and they were relegated so early last season, people actually do forget that they were in the Premier League last season. It's crazy. So I think it's very, very hard to look past them. What makes me really edgy about getting very firmly behind them is Sunderland. It's a very, very odd situation that if we go back a little while in the season, they were so impressive. Their starting 11 is phenomenally strong, but we've just not seen it for about 2 months. And they have just written off the last couple of months of the season because they knew they weren't going to get automatic promotion. So if they put out their strongest starting 11 for this first leg, Lefay, Bellingham, Isidore, Roberts, like, just there's so many
Name 2 more
players. They've got such a good team that I would not be surprised at all if they win the playoffs, because I think, like, player for player, they're probably as good as Sheffield United. They've just not had the consistency and the squad depth to be able to maintain it for an entire season. So that makes me edgy, because it's just such an unknown without seeing how Sunderland play in the first leg of the semi.
It's a concern, though, is it, that Sunderland screwed themselves over a little bit, though? Like, you kind of, it is that rest and rotate, but then you want to get yourself back into form, which they tried to do in the last 2 games. They went to Oxford. Their team was Patterson, Hume, 9. Hjelde, Roberts, Neil, Rigg, Bellingham, Lafie and Isidore. They lost that game 2-0. There was a relatively strong side last time out on the final day, a home game against QPR, and QPR's problems are well documented going into the game.
Another manager.
Managerless, all the issues that kind of came with their season. Patterson, Hume, Mepham, O'Nien, Sirkin, Roberts, Bellingham, Rigg, Neil, Lafie and Mayenda played up front, so a relatively strong team there again, and they lost 1-0. Have they potentially, as good as it was to get the balance in, it's weird now, isn't it? Because the confidence kind of drains out of you. Not so much as if they then played weakened sides all the way through and just went first leg of the playoffs, and they have had injuries. There are players that are still unavailable. But then if they then went, okay, we're now going just strong as possible for the away game at Coventry, and then we'll go from there, and we'll just completely write off the last few weeks of the season. But then they've now welcomed back these big hitters. Okay, not in maybe the entire form that they like, but then they've still been beaten twice, and the confidence, especially going to Coventry, who confidence will be high. I know it's a sellout there, as you expect playoff games to be, but they won their last game in kind of good circumstances to make it into the playoffs, and while their form has been hit and miss, their confidence is high. Sunderland's maybe not so much, and then you never know. You never know that it could be a tie that's done after one game, because it has happened before.
Yep. Yeah. It's going back to the original point about points tallies. A lot has been made about the sort of how teams coming up from the Championship just don't compete in the Premier League, but we've seen it in recent times, the disparity in points. And I previewed the playoffs last couple of seasons in the Championship. It has been a recent trend where third or fourth last season just get promoted because they're cut above the other ones. And it's a good point about Sunderland because such a weird move. I know Russell Martin did it to some great success. Like that was that last season. That was last season, wasn't it? Yeah, and he diddled Farker with some tactical chess, didn't he?
Yeah, last game of the season. Don't show him too much, but give him a little bit of this.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I don't know if Sunderland are, based on points alone, they're obviously not as good as the Southampton team that ultimately went up in the playoffs. The thing I will say about Sheffield United is we did finish with a draw. We beat Stoke, two teams with something that needed to play for. We rotated heavily against Blackburn, rested the big hitters, and had chances to win that despite finishing the game with 10 men. I know it was a batshit crazy last 20 minutes because there was like 8 minutes of injury time and ended up playing to 100 odd minutes. So yeah, you take that with a pinch of salt. But what I will say about Sheffield United is while they did have playoff success at Oxford, got them out of the fifth tier, it seems like we know he's what do you call it, objective related manager. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you mean.
Sets targets, achieves them. He wanted 90 points, he got them. And he got a lot of flack when he said, we just win games. Don't pay any attention to the data, we just win. Went on to lose a few after that. But his point was right, and it is true, because we don't have I'm a Sheffield United fan, if you don't know. We don't have a specific way of playing. We're very versatile. He says if we need to go direct, we can beat teams playing direct because we've got Big Kiefer Moore, Ben Barrett and Diaz on the diag. If you want to play football, we've got players to play football. Hamer, O'Hare. And I think that could be the difference in this playoff campaign, because you mentioned Sunderland's depth. I think pound for pound, and it should be expected given the money behind Sheffield United, squad-wise, depth, versatility, tactically, I think we are streets ahead of everyone, and that's not a controversial statement considering we finished with 90 points. But I think the prices are probably fair, and if I was thinking with my head, I think Sheffield United are going to go up. But that's not to say I want to back them.
History does favour Sheffield United. It is a case of largely the table just doesn't lie in the end. So 20 seasons there have been of the Championship, obviously since the rebrand. 80%, so 16 of the teams who finished third went on to make the final. 9 of them went on to be promoted. 11 of those who finished fourth went on to make the final, 5 of which went on to be promoted. It is exactly as you'd expect. It's a staggered favoured towards the better teams, obviously progress further and get promoted. In the last 10 years, it's 4 of the third place teams, 4 of the fourth place teams, a couple of fifth place teams. Nobody who's finished sixth has been promoted. 8 of the last 10 third place teams made the final. And you have to go back, I think it's to 2010. Is it Ian Holloway's Blackpool were the last sixth place team to go on and get promoted? And I think Leeds in 2019, so 6 years ago, were the last third place team not to make the final.
Yeah.
It is a case of, at times like this, ultimately, it is a 2-game shootout, and it would be different if it was like non-league and you have a 1 game and you catch them on off day. But across 180 minutes plus of football, it pretty much seemingly is that case of the table doesn't lie.
And on that, the gulf between the Championship and the Premiership's got bigger, and the knockdown effect is the gulf between the parachute payment teams and the rest of the league's got bigger. Because you only have to go back to 21-22. Fulham won the league with Sheffield United's point tally, 90 points. Forest went up in 4th. They had 80 points, but the gap from Luton in 6th to Huddersfield in 3rd was only 7 points. Now Sheffield United to Bristol, I think from memory it's 22.
Yes.
So, like recent history says, the best team over the course of the season wins the league. But the best team over the course of the season in the playoff has got further and further away from the rest of the pack in the playoffs. So, it would be daft not to side with the best team over the course of the season, as obvious as it is.
Unless there was, say they'd lost the last 5-6 games or something like that. Because the parallel to be drawn for Sheffield United would be like Leeds last year, but I don't think there's a Southampton, because Southampton went 25 games unbeaten or something last season, and they were a team that were benefiting from parachute payments as well. So I don't think that there is an opponent like that to that level that could beat Sheffield United. And Leeds, it was really late in the day. I remember having this chat with Jimmy a few weeks ago that the best thing for Sheffield United would be to definitely not be automatically promoted with a few weeks of the season left, because you've got the time, to get over it, move on. If this had been a final day, they've missed out. Sometimes they're so damaged, the players, they ain't got time to recover. First leg, they've lost 3-0, it's all over. I don't think that's going to be the case with Sheffield United. Just the last thing on the other tie, the Sunderland-Coventry one.
I was going to say, we should mention that as well, of course.
So, yeah, well, fair play to Bristol City, first of all. Brilliant, them sneaking in. I really do struggle to just make a case for them beating Sheffield United over 2 legs. I just had no point really going on about that. The other tie, I think it's impossibly difficult to call because of the unknowns about Sunderland. And the point about them being on this losing run at the end of the season and, them not getting results when they played a better team for the last 2 games, I just think you have to put all that to one side and wait to see them play, because the parallels I would draw with that is what we're seeing going on in the Premier League at the moment with Arsenal, Man United, Tottenham, when they have had all of their focus on Europe versus the league. It doesn't matter what 11 they put out. Like Arteta tried to do it differently on Saturday, played a full strength team pretty much against Bournemouth, same result. He's playing a weakened 11 and it's the same, because it just does not matter. So it doesn't make a difference the 11 they play. Man United and Tottenham, they change the whole team. They play it. They're getting the same results in the Premier League still, because the intensity is not there. You can't tell them, go out, this really matters, this game, because it doesn't. So now it does. I think Sunderland will be back to their level, but we just don't know. I like Coventry as well. So I just think that's too difficult to call.
Are we confident enough to build kind of a playoff Acca? Because the option is you just say, look, it's in effect, for us, this approach would be similar to a normal Acca in that we're doing it weekly. That you could just take Sheffield United to qualify at 4-7 and just to make Wembley if we're not sure on the Championship and kind of the way it goes about it. Because then if you think, what are they, 9-5, 7-4, something like that, to beat to win the playoffs, and the 4-7 to qualify. If Blades make Wembley, which we're backing them to, what price are they going to be to get promoted at Wembley? They're going to be 4-5, something like that. They'll obviously go off favourites, won't they? If they're kind of, I know they haven't been in the odds all season. And then you're talking, the 7-4s, kind of 9-5's about right. But I don't know whether we just would feel more confident if we talked the Blades up of just taking them to qualify from the tie. Because that's done by Monday, and we're back the week after anyway for a normal pod. Their ties are Thursday night's the away leg, Monday night's the home leg. And I'd be more than comfortable if we're not sure on how Sheffield United, Sunderland Coventry play out. Then it's a 4-7 price that we all seem. If this was a kind of I don't know how to put it. If it was like an aggregate 2 regular season games, we'd be all over it, sort of thing. Because Bristol City as well, their record against those above them reads 1 win, 4 draws, and 5 defeats, of which they drew with the Blades at Ashton Gate and lost to them at Bramall Lane. So I'd say if we're building a playoff Acca, I'd have no issue in just taking the 4-7 on the Blades to qualify.
Actually, we beat them at Ashton Gate and drew at Bramall Lane.
Sorry, you did, yes.
Sorry about
that, everyone.
I like your thinking, but I would like to see people who do a season-long EFL almost exclusively related Acca betting show really nail their colours to the mast.
Sheffield United to win the playoffs.
And go for the winners after.
Sheffield United to win the playoffs, in my mind.
Yeah, just looking now, there were like a fair bit of odds against 2.15 Sheffield United to beat Bristol City in early March at home. I think taking them 4-7 to make the final is, I just don't think that's a value bet. I think the value is in siding with the team that we really think is gonna get there. I would say maybe we look at the other 2 leagues, see what we think. We don't have to put them all in. Like we could just have a double.
Do a straight name the finalists.
Yeah.
Which is the odds on that?
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we really like Sheffield United. We think that they're the obvious choice, but we don't have to lock anything in.
Provisionally then, we're eyeing up Sheffield United in the Championship playoffs, but we will revisit it because we'll discuss League One next. Into League One then, where hopefully we'll have a bit more of a clearer picture of what's going to happen. So we've got Leyton Orient taking on Stockport. Stockport finishing 3rd, Leyton Orient 6th. And then Wickham, I believe on final day, wasn't it, dropped down to 5th, which meant Charlton took their spot in 4th and get the home advantage for the second leg, which could be crucial. Talk to me about these 4 teams and where are we looking?
Go on, James.
Yeah, interesting because you could categorise the playoffs in League One and League Two, that I have anyways, teams hot and cold, form-wise. You'd say Stockport are red hot in League One, Wickham, the other end of the scale, been dropping like a stone, unsurprisingly.
Who would categorise them as hot and cold?
I don't know. It's just a term I just coined a minute ago. Yeah. I haven't been looking on site or anything. But yeah, Wickham lost their manager, Bloomfield, to Luton. Kone's form fell off a cliff. And a bit of a side note, I don't know if it's pure speculation, but has something happened to him when he didn't get a move? Was he pushing for a move in January? Because you look at his form prior to the window, post-window, it's absolutely nosedived. I don't know if he was just running on hot before. Or
it could also be that another manager comes in and has obviously slightly changed the way they've played. And
I bet they wish they took 5 million for him now, though. No one's paying 5 million now. No chance.
Wickham on the red hot or not scale. The worrying sign, isn't it? I don't know if you're about to make this point, Jimmy, but under Mike Dodds, it's not just the games that they've lost, it's who they've lost to.
Yes.
Any time they play a team around them or above them in the table, they seemingly end in defeat. You look at the losses that they've had have come. They did lose to Charlton, but I think maybe that was before Dodds had come in, because
every top 7 meeting.
Birmingham lost, Wrexham lost, Reading, who just missed out on the playoffs on final day, lost. Final 3 games of the season, the fixture list gave them. Charlton lost 4-0 as well at home. Were heavily beaten. They then went to Leyton Orient, who kept their playoff hopes alive and seemingly then got in, or seemingly did get into the playoffs the following week. They lost to
like
there.
They have got into.
And then Stockport turned up on final day and have beaten them as well. So they've not just been losing. Anytime they play another top team, it has ended in defeat.
Yep, and that is the scary thing. I want to hone in on that game with Charlton because it's huge. Obviously, you're just painting the picture. Mike Dodds, Mr. Michael Dodds, big game management. He got it all wrong at Charlton. The consensus with the Wickham fans was he was reactive, not proactive. He set his team out in a way to what he has been doing since he came in. Low margins, nick a result 1-2-0. And Charlton were licking their lips. They just played right into their hands and obviously battered them 4-0. And you've got to ask questions about how he's going to fare in a 1, 2, 3 game maximum playoff campaign because he's got it consistently wrong since he came in against the big boys. 6 matches then against the top 7 in total. What was the score on Saturday? 3-1.
3-1 they lost to Stockport. I think they were 1-0 up, but ended up losing 3-1. It seemed to be a quick second half blitz that sort of happened in that game.
Stockport winning from behind, what, 3rd game in a row?
Sounds about right, so we'll go with yeah.
So that's 6 games against the top 7 under Dodds. Conceded 11, scored once, which is terrible. Why you'd want to go near them in a playoff campaign? No way, Jose. So I'd want to rule them out of any betting.
Yeah, it's a black and white bet in League One for me because of everything that Jimmy said there, that you've got to back Charlton to win the playoffs because they're playing Wycombe, and not really got anything else to add to the reasons why to get against Wycombe. When it comes to Charlton, because I want to actually get this right because it's so astonishing what Charlton have done in the second half of the season. So they took 61 points from the final 27 matches. It's won 19, drawn 4, lost 4. So that points per game average is 104 points over a full season. It's remarkable, really. Stockport are about at the same level. They had that little wobble either side of Louis Barry being recalled by Aston Villa, but they've been nearly on that same level of form as Charlton, and then Leyton Orient have just won a streak of games at the end of the season. But because that Stockport-Leyton Orient game, I actually think is particularly difficult to call. 2 teams in really good form. Leyton Orient had a real wobble in the middle of the season, or late point of the season, that looked like it might cost them, but they're a very good team. Started slowly as well, looked good last year. They're a good side. It just looks like Charlton comfortably see off Wycombe. Experienced manager. Like, you just got to go with that tie because the other one's too tough to call. The one it's not a concern, but the one thing to acknowledge with Charlton is the money's come in a bit for Charlton now. So I wrote the playoff preview for the Sporting Life site on Sunday night, and at that point, Charlton were 3rd favourites to win the playoffs. Astonishingly, Wycombe were favourites to qualify from that semi-final. Now, Charlton and Wycombe are joint favourites with some firms overall in terms of where you can get best price. Charlton are 2nd favourites behind Stockport to be promoted, with Wycombe 3rd favourites. So it's not quite the same price that was available. So I think best price for Charlton now is 12 to 5.
5, yeah.
And they were available at 5 to 2. So it's not a massive thing, but it's enough for it not to be the amazing bet it was on Sunday that I hope some people got on.
Stockport 2-1 then, as you say there, 12 to 5 for both Charlton and Wycombe. Leyton Orient 9 to 2. I think we have seemingly settled on Charlton. It feels like for a lot of, I think a lot of people will be looking at Charlton as well to win the playoffs. But just a point on Leyton Orient that they're 9 to 2 with multiple bookmakers to get promoted, and if you think, I don't know, is it ever so slightly overpriced given their own good form? I know we said how good kind of Stockport are, but they come into the playoffs in decent form as well. I think they're about 13 to 8 to qualify and get through. Do you think that's a little bit big or not, as kind of a smaller maybe value play to have a go on an outsider?
Personally, I don't think it is, because they've not only got to get past Stockport, who have been phenomenal all season, apart from that tiny blip they had, but then they've also probably got to get past Charlton as well. And if they don't get past Charlton, then they've got to get past a team that's just beaten Charlton, who have been on 100 plus points form for nearly 30 games of the season. So it's the fact that they've got 2 enormous hurdles they've got to get over. You look in the other divisions and say Bristol City, they are best price 4 to 1 to win the playoffs, because if they get past Sheffield United, you're like, any of those 3 teams could be promoted. It's just not the case for Leyton Orient. They get through their semi-final and it's going to be just as tough, if not tougher, to win the final. So that's where I think that extra price point comes, as opposed to the other 2 divisions.
Anything else to add on League One, or are we happy to move on?
No. Just I love Stockport and Challoner, and I don't want that to cloud my judgment. But if you imagine a final where they do square off, manager-wise, are probably par, I'd say. I rank Challoner really highly. I don't think he gets credit he deserves. But when you're looking for an edge, you probably go pound for pound player quality. Charlton probably do have that edge, don't they? If you think they can cancel each other out tactically, I think I'd want to side with Charlton in a one-off game just because they've got so much quality in the team.
If you're not sure, it's 7-4 that Charlton and Stockport meet in the final.
Ooh, I was
The only other thing, if we're not, I know we are seemingly sure, but if there is that kind of Stockport doubt in the mind, but we think both are going to get to Wembley, it is 7-4 that those two meet in the final.
I was just looking at this after you stormed out in the break.
Yeah.
Back in instead of Sky Bet do the offer where they package it up, don't they? It's X to meet Y in the final. But if you did the teams individually to qualify in their semi-finals, you're getting a bigger odds if you did want it to do that.
Okay, so
I just looked at that. Yeah.
So you could have. Let me quickly find the games here. So if we say Stockport to progress against Leyton Orient, similar price Sheffield United, a 4-7 that we spoke about in the Championship, and Charlton to get the better of Wickham when it finally loads that. Yeah, just a bit of fish.
0.2 bigger.
Oh, it's ever so slightly, but yeah, I mean across the board you're talking around 7-4 if you fancy that as the two teams to qualify.
I don't want to get against a team that's won at 8 of the last 10 to get in the playoffs, and then has won at Wrexham. Then nobody wins at Wrexham, and were good last season as well. It's not like it's a little boost in form that's got them in there. They're a really, really good team, and I'm going to be passing this over to Jimmy to fill in the gaps here. I'm pretty sure that I read in one of Jimmy's Punt's columns over the last couple of weeks about Stockport's poor record against other sides at the top. They've
looks
had
very
a lot of draws and a couple of defeats. They haven't got as impressive a record as you would expect against other teams at the top. Might have to stall.
No, I remember it's all up here. Yeah, it was ahead of the game against Wickham Saturday. Yes? Yeah. Yeah, so they've now played 8 against the teams around them. Drawn 3, lost 3, won the other 2.
Yeah, it's not brilliant, is it?
Should we side with Charlton in League One?
I think they are the bet, yeah. Same price as Stockport. Are they the same price as Stockport?
Bigger price than Stockport.
Same price as Wickham.
Wickham, correct.
Yeah, then I just think you use that. That tells you everything you need to know. They're too big.
Should we take it then? In Sky Bet League One then, we are backing Charlton to win the playoffs, and we will discuss what looks an incredibly tricky League Two next. League Two then, work this one out, because this is the one section of the podcast I was dreading because, oh my God, I do not know. I think this reflects in the pricing as well, where bookmakers can't seemingly agree on who's the favourite, who should be what. You've got some taking Notts County as the favourites, others placing Wimbledon as joint favourites, and then you've got Walsall and their just remarkable collapse that we mentioned at the start of the podcast, and then Chesterfield, who got in on final day. It feels like 3 sets of fans who aren't particularly happy, and Chesterfield, who are just happy to be there, as it turned out. I have no idea how to tackle this. I mean, Chesterfield opened at 5-1 the other day. They have since shortened into 3-1, as short as 3-1 in places, which shows just the uncertainty that comes with these 4 teams. How is anyone tackling this? Please let me know.
Interesting, Chesterfield. Sorry,
give them the full name.
We've already spoken about them, so it's okay.
Got in after Cook ended their season after the capitulation against Walsall, I think. Was it, or was it later? He said, and then his voice changed about 4 times.
Yeah,
he said, we're done.
Can you try and do it as accurately as you can, please, so I can understand what you're trying to say?
Season's done. It's finished now.
Very good.
Like that.
Very good. Yep, I like it.
But I didn't actually know we was doing a playoff podcast today. 9 a.m. I got the call. Where the hell are you? What are you talking about?
I can't believe it's taken us this long to actually address that.
Why?
Yeah, sorry. So we have this real challenge on the podcast, don't we, Tom, that Jimmy still doesn't have a smartphone, and we do the majority of our communicating via WhatsApp. And I realised this morning, I was like, Jimmy's not here. So what I have to do is everything that we communicate over, having a rota there, or what we're doing tomorrow, what we're going to talk about, should we wear football shirts for this, blah, blah. Then I have to paste it over into an email and send it to Jimmy. And I did, but I didn't include his email address on it. I included everybody else's. So yeah, they're the little logistical challenges that I relish. We got through 2 years of podcasts without not missing your email off. 2 years it's taken, so I'll take it on the chin.
The logistical challenges.
Just
Our grandparents went to war.
God,
Some of them worked down the pits.
I can't send an email.
Jesus.
Send an email, just not to the right person.
We got onto this point, was this trying to cop out of the League Two one?
Yes, that's exactly what I was doing. All of the waffle house spiel has just been straight off the cuff. No preparation was the point. But I think League Two, it seems the logical thing to do is make a case against most of the teams, which just looking at it now, I think it's pretty easy to go down the table, make a case why they're not going to win it, and then work from there. So obviously start at Walsall, heartbreak, pipped to the automatic spots on final day, as Dom's already outlined. Their drop-off has been quite astonishing, really, hasn't it, since they lost Lowe. Nathan Lowe, recalled to Stoke, of course.
Yeah, that was in the January window, of course. And then about 3 wins in 23 or something like that since that. Remarkable drop-off.
Dom did tell me, because when they played each other, I think Bradford won. Was it back in early March, February? I can't remember off the top of my head.
4-0, Bradford won.
Just keep making it up, it's fine.
But I think Bradford, Dom said at the time, going into that game with 25-1 to win the league, obviously Walsall were in such a commanding position, and to capitulate how they have, and then once again have their hearts broken in the most dramatic fashion on last day.
To interrupt, sorry, it was 3-0 there. Dom, who fed it into my ear, doesn't know how his own team gets on. So, there you go. But it was a Bradford win convincingly. Carry on.
Yeah, you made the point about Sheffield United going into their player. They had a few weeks to adjust, didn't they? Emotionally, get over it, reset for the playoffs. Walsall haven't had that luxury because up until about a minute before the final action of the season, they was going up automatically. Now to dust themselves off and try and get themselves into shape for the playoffs looks like a real tricky task, and that's without considering their absolutely awful form down the back nine. So I think I can put a line through them, as I wouldn't want to be getting on side with them. What are they price-wise? Because
Walsall are 4-5 to make the final. They are to win the playoffs again, depending where you look. But the bookmakers go around 3-1-ish. Some go as short as 9-4. Walsall in the playoffs.
yeah, so if everyone's happy to draw a line through them,
I think. Well, the only logical way I can see how we tackle it is just by taking Chesterfield to qualify and get to the final. Because God knows how they kind of do it. It's an even money shot. Because Wimbledon, Notts County, I can't work out for the life of me how this is going to go on. It feels like two sets of fans who are probably largely unhappy above it. The elation, particularly for Wimbledon, of getting in on final day and beating a playoff rival to get to that spot away from home. It still feels like there's still going to be some underlying unhappiness that's there, that kind of with both sets of supporters going into this game.
What's Wimbledon fans' issue? What I just genuinely
I think on
curious.
Johnny Jackson and kind of how it's been going generally overall the course of the season, and if they then didn't win on Saturday, what that would then mean for his future, and kind of the tempers flaring over and stuff like that at times. I think it's largely down to that, but then equally they then have had that good result on final day and have now got themselves, well, they were in the playoffs anyway, but if they lost that game, they could have then lost their playoff spot, which they didn't. It's just that, as the odds suggest, God knows how you call that playoff semi-final.
Yeah, I would be in. I mean, the bookies can't. Yep. They're exactly the same price for a reason. The seasons have followed almost exactly the same trajectory in terms of, they're going to make the top three, bad run, looking like they're a really good team for a bit, then not. They have been the epitome of League Two, those two clubs, not to go near in the betting. in these playoffs. No chance. The other tie, the odds are just wrong. Like, they just are. I know that Chesterfield have come in a bit, but Chesterfield, I think it's easy to forget, were anti-post favourites to win League Two. So this is not a surprise that they are a team in the playoffs. We would have all expected them to finish in the playoffs this season. They're a very good team. They just had that really long spell where they couldn't take chances. So they come into the playoffs probably as a better team than Walsall. And now they're going to play Walsall really, really in form when Walsall have overachieved this season and then fallen off a cliff, lost their best player in January, had loads of injuries. As a better team in form against a team that aren't as good as them, that have won 3 of the last 21 matches, and then missed out on promotion in the 97th minute of another team's game. And they're the outsiders. It's completely insane, to be honest. Yeah. I can't believe it as a bet, to be honest, to Chesterfield to beat Walsall. I think it's nuts. I don't know how it's being priced like this.
What are we thinking then?
I'm excited.
League Two approach.
I've already piled into it.
That could be.
I wasn't saying anything.
We could make like a little playoffs Acca. We are determined to go for Charlton to promote from League One. I think probably leaning towards Chesterfield to get past Walsall, or do we want to take them for promotion, or is it just that I want to stay away from the final? I'd rather just settle on the two-legged semi.
I'd like to nail our colours to the mast. Even though money has come for both Charlton and Chesterfield, they do still stick out like a sore thumb as the bets, and that's all we can do is play the prices in this game.
Yeah.
So what you could do...
Do you know what's sickening about Chesterfield? They were, hard to see this coming in that mental league. They were 66-1 to be promoted on the 16th of April. That is crazy. It's what, 3 weeks ago or so?
Yeah.
So they were already in the middle of their good run. It's not like they were just... playing poorly at the end of that poor run. It's just nuts, man.
You can get around 15-1 on Charlton to be promoted and Chesterfield to be promoted. If you then add the Blades in for Championship, the price goes to around 40s. If you want a 3 treble outright playoff winners to get involved in, and they're kind of the teams that, League Two we brushed over because fundamentally we just don't really know. It's so hard to call that one, but seemed very hot on Charlton. A lot of the talk in the Championship section was leaning towards Sheffield United and their potential. We've got one favourite, one second favourite, one of the outsiders in there, but a 40-1 treble on those 3 teams, given how the discussion points and stuff like that, it feels like that's what we've leaned to. And if Jimmy wants to pin our colours to the mast, as he says, that feels like the approach for us.
Personally, I'd be well behind that, backing those 3 teams, because the Sheffield United, the more I think about it, having written the preview for the website and left Sheffield United out, I really said this to you, Tom, yesterday. Really mulled it over. I had it in for a bit and took it out. I would probably back Sheffield United at the price because it's held. Some firms have really come in and cut them into 6-4. And they're 9-5 with some bookies.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's a bit of value. I don't think it is to make the final because of the points that we've raised about how far ahead they are of 2 of the other clubs and even Sunderland. I know they wrote off the rest of the season. I think that 9-5 is worth getting behind. And like Jimmy said, we can only play the prices. The other 2, I think, are massively good bets because of the opponents they've got, and then you wrap all that up. If we get it boosted by Sky Bet and it's getting up towards 50-1, that's a really fun way to end the season.
His face.
I was just about to back it like an idiot pre-boost.
So we've got those 3. Like we say, if you take the 3, if you're not as certain, the 3 just to make Wembley is above 4-1 as well. But we are going for the outright winners then.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Championship then. From the 3 EFL playoffs, we are going for the promotion treble. We're taking Sheffield United to win the Championship. We're taking Charlton to win League One. And in League Two, it's the outsiders Chesterfield. All 3 to get promoted, around 40-1. And we will ask Sky Bet if they give us a nice little boost. Please. Get involved with on that one. If you are backing that or any of the bets we've talked about on this podcast, please remember to keep it fun, never bet more you can afford, and please gamble responsibly. The playoffs start on Thursday, so we will ask them to price it up head over to sportinglife.com/football. Over the next couple of days, you'll be able to find the link to back that at an enhanced price. And if you haven't already, please follow and rate us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your chosen podcast provider. When are we back? Do we settle on next Thursday as a normal one?
How am I supposed to know?
Oh, yeah, well,
I'll email you.
we'll work it out. We'll let Jimmy know an hour before it's time to get up here. And, we'll be back ahead, definitely, of those finals anyway.